Classy Music Studios presents Inspire. Inspire is here as an opportunity to bring people, artists, up close, front and center to young people and people that maybe have questions or maybe just maybe interested and explore the world of music. So we hope that something is said or done today that will inspire you to explore the world of music. And we are so excited to have our special guest. We are spotlighting Mr. Tamba Giles. Woo, let's give it up. Let's give it up. Oh, you are in for a treat. So just hold tight. I'm going to introduce Mr. Tamba Giles. Um, he's an educator, a musician, a vocalist, songwriter, and so many others. A lot of experience. This is an opportunity to ask questions. So if you have questions, you can put it in the chat or even pop on and ask questions live. This is an opportunity to dialogue and engage with artists to see what it is that they're doing, what is the path that they took to get where they are, and just have some actual opportunities to speak with someone that may be doing what you may be interested in doing or consider. So we have Mr. Tamba Giles. He is an award-winning singer, musician, whose motto is changing lives one song at a time. He is a native of Houston, Texas, and a proud graduate of the very best Prairie View A&M University. Shortly after graduation, Tamba moved to the Philly area and by the favor of God was allowed to glean from many successful ministries in the area. Giles currently resides in the Baltimore area and has had the opportunity to work with some of the best in gospel music. In 2001, he penned the song, You Are the Great I Am. Yes, I remember that, which has been performed around the country. In 2004, Tamba toured with Grammy-winning Jubilation Choir and became a lead vocalist in on their Launch Out project 2006, singing the song What a Mighty God We Serve, which received an In Sound nomination for Traditional Song of the Year. Tamba is also the former music director of the Stellar, do you hear me? Stellar Award winning Wilmington Chester Mass Choir and worked with the choir on the It's Not Over project. Giles has been a music teacher in Pennsylvania and as a lead teacher in the Delaware, receiving the Superstars in Education Award. In 2006, Giles was given a Community Service Award by the Chester Fine Arts Center East, recognizing him as highly dedicated and outstanding music educator. In 2007, Tamba was asked by Grammy Award-winning musician Billy Jolly to form a choir to celebrate the accomplishments of Teddy Pendergrass. Tamba, along with members of his choir, performed before a sold-out crowd at Philadelphia's Kimmel Center. Tamba Giles is a gifted soloist, praise and worship leader, and musician who is dedicated to encouraging and uplifting people through the medium of music. Giles currently serves as an internist music teacher in Carroll County Public Schools and director of worship and fine arts at New Psalmist Baptist Church. In 2016, Tamba portrayed the R&B icon Luther Vandross in a stage play presented by the historic Arena Players Theater called Luther. The musical play centered on the life of Luther Vandross and the inspirations for his musical writings and his dynamic love life. The show sold out the theater with 20 shows and continues to be one of the most requested shows by audience members. Giles received the Best of Baltimore award by the city paper as Best Luther. Tamba is married to Kendra Giles, and together they have one daughter. Once again, we are extremely privileged, excited to have Mr. Tamba Giles. Welcome.
Thank you, Clarissa. While I was listening to that, and some stuff I kind of forgotten about it when you were reading the bio. I'm like, oh, I forgot about that. So,
Yeah, you've done some awesome things. So we're looking forward to hearing all about it today. If not all of it, at least some of it and some tidbits that can help. Maybe someone that may be looking to go down the same path. You never know who you may be inspiring from a distance. And this is an
yeah.
opportunity for them to be up close and personal. So we're going to start. We've introduced Mr. Child. We're going to start by just seeing him in action, a little bit about what he does and how he's done what he does. And then we'll be able to get some some technique and some tips, and then we'll have some Q&A. So we'll get right to it. So,
Let's see, how long has it been? It was 2016. I was asked by a choir member to be a part of a play, and I said, "Well, what are you talking about? What do you need me to do?" And that is, I'm going to turn this meet up with my second screen. So give me 1 second. So make sure I'm not picking up too much. All right, and volume down. Technology got a lot of stuff. So anyway, I am going to just do a quick Luther treatment. I had to put on this ugly blue jacket, but I only wear this. I only put this on stage. This is not a jacket I wear on a normal. So if you wondered if I walk around the streets of Baltimore with this on, I do not. We're going to take it back, and I learned a lot about Luther Vandross in this experience. His dynamics, who he was as a person, how he uses technique, and so I've used some of that as a singer and some practicing. So we're gonna do a little bit. All right, we'll take it back. Skippity dippity dee dee, twiddly diddly dee dee, yeah, yeah, yeah. Skippity dippity dee 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 dee, twiddly dee, twiddly dee, twiddly dee. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Roll back the rug, everybody. Move all the tables and chairs. We're gonna have us a good time tonight. Yeah, 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 yeah. Every time that we meet, we skip and we dip to the beat, yeah. And what in the world could be better than getting together again? The last time we had a party, it ended when the sun came up. And that's when your mama told you that you couldn't go out, just stay in the house. Ooh, you bad boy. He's gonna sneak out tonight. He's gonna chip by the window. Cause he sure wants to get out and dance. Everyone's healing in the morning. The chandelier downstairs is falling. And I know it's hard to resist, but this is the party no one wanted to miss. If you don't get home on the double, you're going to be in trouble. And I hope your mama don't look in your room, cause if she does, she'll be here soon. She's gonna be mad you're a bad boy, and you got it bad. Say goodbye to your friends, cause it's gonna be a while till you see them again. Ooh, you bad boy. You're gonna sneak out tonight. He's gonna chip by the window. Cause he sure wants to go out and dance. I know it's lunchtime, let's have a party. Everybody's swinging, woo, dancing to the music on the radio, having a party. Everybody's singing, dancing to the music On the radio, you can't go because of COVID. You're bad boy. Yeah, he's gonna sneak out tonight. He's gonna tip by the window, cause he sure wants to go out and dance. Come on, y'all, clap your hands, come on. Everybody swing, yeah, dancing to the music on the radio, having a party. Woo. Everybody singing, dancing to the music on the radio. You can't go. Ooh, you bad boy. He's gonna sneak out tonight. He's gonna tip by a window, cause he sure wants to go out and dance. Hey, you skippity dippity dippity dee. Skippity tippity tippity dee. Skippity tippity tippity dee. Yeah, 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 yeah. You bad boy. He's gonna sneak out tonight. He's gonna chip by a window, cause he sure wants to go out and dance. Yeah, 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 yeah. Ooh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Bad boy, bad boy. Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh!
Yes, yes, yes. We're having fun. We're having fun. This is what we
Woo.
see when you are performing and asked to, um, I guess the stage play. Luther kind of kick started all of this.
Yeah,
Um,
it did. Yeah, it did. I have done since that time. That play was in 2016. We ran for 2016 to 2018. We did over 40 shows, all sold out. Um, this is a theater in Baltimore. It's a historically black theater that had not had sold out shows like this in a while. And so it's kind of surprising. It was a small cast. From that, I've been doing live performances across the DMV, which is what we call it the more the Maryland, Virginia, DC area, doing performances with live bands and doing with tracks. Interesting enough, in the midst of the pandemic, I thought that I had a lot of shows that had been canceled and live shows, and I decided to start doing Zoom shows, Zoom performances. I kind of put it out there, had no idea. I've done over 20 shows this past summer, Zoom performances. I normally do a 30 or 45-minute set, whether it's in my home or whether it's somewhere else, and it's been amazing. And people are still calling. I'm still getting bookings. I actually, this is my this weekend. I've got two more shows. So just it's a crazy
wow.
experience. So
Okay.
and as a creative, it allowed me to say, you know what, I can't go on the stage, but I can give people a performance that makes them feel as if they are on the stage. So
Right.
or that they're on the stage with me. So that has been, creativity set in the midst of the pandemic. So I'm
Right.
excited about it.
So I think you kind of mentioned that, when you perform, how you bring that energy. And so we're going to talk a little bit about some of the things you do as a performer, as an entertainer. Okay, so you have the talent, but is the talent the same as actually entertaining? You kind of alluded to that with the whole idea of the energy. So before we kind of get into our Q&A and our questions, and Tampa share a little bit of some of the techniques or tips of the trade, as we say, just know that Inspire and Classic Music Studios is here to bring education and insight to our young people, no matter what your age. A lot of our young people are not allowed the opportunity to experience the arts or have the opportunity to come up close in front to artists. So Classic Music Studios is here to provide an opportunity to inspire our young people that may not ordinarily get the opportunity. So just know, if you like what you hear today, or you see something or hear something that may be great, please share with others, as we will be hosting many of these throughout the month and months to come. We are accepting donations, so feel free to donate. Cash App, Inspire Kids, or PayPal, Classic Music Studios, as those our artists are actually here volunteering their time, and what they have to offer is definitely worth a little something. So that's what we have, and we're just glad Tamba's here. He's gonna just take a breather for a second, and then we're gonna just kind of get into some of the tips that can be shared for maybe someone that may be looking at music. They may be looking at music. Am I going to consider a music career? Will I? What are the pros and cons? What are the things to look out for if I decide to go the performance route? Um, Maybe some things that you can provide and share. So we're just going to start with maybe some technique and tips before we kind of get into our interview. Now, you've made a comment about your jacket. You don't walk down the street with your jacket. So maybe you could kind of talk about, do I just get on stage with some jeans, playing the part and looking the part? Tell us a little bit about your tips and technique, or tips for the trade.
So I was going to say, of course, how you present yourself. You are a walking billboard, and so how you present yourself, of course, is essential to whatever type of performer you desire to be. For the Luther situation, of course, I initially did not have my own. Um, I didn't have a budget for a wardrobe, and this was a community theater. I actually created my own. My first suit was I created myself, and I used a little ingenuity. I had a black jacket, and I ended up finding some. I went to a craft store, and I beaded it down with all kind of stuff. I found some old black shoes, and that were like patent leather shoes, and I decorated these shoes, and it was crazy because people actually thought that these were like, oh my goodness, those Versace shoes. I'm like, no, they're called Pottery Barn. It's Michaels. It's Joann's Fabrics. But it was the idea of being, creative in what I wanted to. What I wanted to present on stage and allowing that creativity. So presentation is so key. If it's in ministry, outside of this, I'm working at a church. We've got 7,000 members. I do what I do for that, but even presentation for that. And I've learned to work. I'm not walking around. I'm not 125 pounds, and so I can kind of present myself in a certain way that there was a level of respect for not just my artistry, that people could see also like, wow, he's the full package. I think that's essential. Just how you present yourself and the ability to conversate. Have conversations and have diverse conversations. I think a lot of times people get limited into a box. I grew up playing in the church, and but I also listened to all kinds of music. So I grew up listening to the Jazz Crusaders because my mom played Joe Sample in the Jazz Crusaders, but then she played James Cleveland and then Donny Hathaway. And when I got to college, I learned to appreciate even more. I mean, I started listening to country music and appreciating rock music. And then when I moved away from home, there was, each city had a different sound. So when I moved from Houston to Philadelphia, there was the Philadelphia sound. And I really began to appreciate those strings and things of that sort. So I think the other piece of that, outside just how you present yourself, is being open to learning different things. Last year, I learned how to play the ukulele off of a class I went to called Common Ground. And I was with a group of people who were like hippies. They were hippies that are now in their 60s and 70s. And I'm in a room, and I'm the only African American in this room. And I'm picking up a ukulele, and I had the best time. I learned so much stuff. You realize with that, I was able to take those skill sets and now turn it into, I'm going to play a spiritual on the ukulele. I use what was common for me that I could use. Let me try this song on the ukulele. Now I picked up a different instrument that I did not know how to play, and so I think when you open your mind up, so I'm going from presentation to also just having open mind. The world is so vast. I went to Japan in 2006 as on a tour. It was a gospel tour. I was with about six singers, and we went away to sing sing there, and I was amazed, Clarissa, at that the gospel choir that was in Japan, they knew African American music. I was going to say our music, but I don't know who my audience is, so I'm going to say they knew
Right.
African American music,
Okay.
gospel music, and had it down pat. How were they able to simulate that sound? Well, guess what? They had a score. They came in, they were reading the music that we had learned by ear, that we grew up like,
Wow.
and they were able to manufacture that sound and technique. And I was floored. I could not believe it. I'm like, man, they're singing. I mean, they've got all the. And so that was a part of that diversity experience, because sometimes you go away, and you have these preconceived prejudices. And they may not be with ill intent, but you kind of have a closed mind to what the rest of the world is doing. And I was able to open up my mind and begin to notice, wow, like I need to learn some other stuff. I need to learn about other cultures because they know about my culture. I don't know anything about their culture. And that may be a slight American pride that we have, that we expect people to know our stuff, but we don't necessarily go out and learn other cultures and other things. Some of that's also being a music teacher, as well as a music teacher. I can't go in singing the gospel song and teaching the children kumbaya at every grade level. It just doesn't happen. So I've learned that over the years. I've got students who are from so many different places, and they would share parts of their culture that I had to learn to appreciate and accept. And that's how we grow. I know I'm talking a lot, so I can go a mile a minute. You know me.
Oh, well, that's good stuff because now even in this conversation and just kind of what you've mentioned the exposure, not only the presentation, but we started with presentation, but you even mentioned how just traveling, for one, the exposure, what you experienced when you went to China. I mean, we don't all get to go to China, nor do we go to China and see, oh my gosh, there are people that are learning more than just their culture and learning music other than the music that they know. And you know what? Let's kind of speak to that because we think about a lot of our young people, they kind of pin themselves in a box and think that the only music is the music that they know. And that is not necessarily making them well rounded as a musician or as an aspiring artist. Even though you may sing one type of music or perform one type of music, what's the benefit to being exposed and expose yourself and being open to listening to other things?
That's crucial. The idea of not limiting yourself, and right now in the midst of a pandemic, no, we may not be able to travel, but the good thing about it is, especially for this generation of young people, is you've got YouTube. You literally can go to a different country and just pull up something. There is a group from New Zealand, the Maori people, and they do this stick game. And I've used this for my students to show them how to practice music in 3/4. They were like, they knew 3/4, they know it from the waltz and maybe other certain styles. But I said, there's a group of people that's a part of they do. And I said, this is 3/4. And the kids mean like, well, what does a 3/4 mean? I'm like, it's in groups of three. Listen at the pattern. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. They watched the video. I had students came back and said, I want to travel to New Zealand. I want to see this tribe do this for myself. I mean, I could see the neurons from their brain just kind of opening up new portals of understanding. And it's so crucial as singers that we never box ourselves. The best performers are the ones who can go
Right.
outside of their genre that they're native to. My native genre is probably gospel music. The thing is, I can easily enjoy Nat King Cole or Frank Sinatra. I can do Luther. I can switch morph into some other artists and kind of get into their world and how they perform. That has been so helpful because my conversations now are different, and it opens up from the business aspect. It opens up more opportunities. So there are people who will not just limit me as, oh, he's a praise and worship leader or he leads this at the church. I know him for that. There's another group of people that may know me from playing piano cover tunes at a wedding, and that was told, I'm playing Autumn in New York and Sophisticated Lady and all these other, bar tunes. But I had to expose myself to that and say, what is it that people are drawn to? Because when we begin to limit ourselves, we begin to limit our opportunities. And that's, if we're going to be a musician, I think about this. Look at Queen Latifah. I had a chance to meet Queen Latifah through her mother. Her mother and I sang. Her mother's passed on, Miss Rita. We sang together in a choir, and I used to travel to New Jersey with a recording group. And I drive up to North Jersey, New York, Newark, New Jersey, for rehearsals on Saturday morning. So I leave from Philly, drive up to New York, and I didn't know that was who her daughter was. She was like, "Oh, my daughter." She kept saying Dana. I never put two and two together
Uh-huh.
until I realized. She asked me one day. She said, "I want you to sing at at my daughter's scholarship. She has a scholarship for Queen
Okay.
Latifah, brother that passed away in a motorcycle accident, and they do a scholarship banquet for him every year." I was able to learn something about Queen Latifah, that she is so diverse. And her mother's an art teacher, was a retired art teacher in New Jersey. But I was able to glean. If you look at Queen Latifah, she started off as a rapper. We know her as a rapper, but she played in Chicago. She's done jazz CDs. She's now producing project. I think that Clark Sisters movie, which she was a part producing that part, financially funding it. But she's a diverse artist, so you can't contain her in a box. She can literally go from one genre to the next. As musicians, as singers, whatever type of performer you are, visual artist, if you're a media artist, if you're an actor, never get confined to a box.
Oh, okay. You gave us some insight. Even that's an example of you see Queen Latifah in one way, but know that she's multidimensional. She's had different stuff. Now, I want to go back to some technique. You were singing,
Sure.
and with your song, there were certain things you did when you held that note at the end. Well, one phrase. Maybe you can get a little bit of tips about, maybe some of your
Sure.
secrets about how you do some of your special nuances in your performance.
Sure. Vocal techniques. That is the epicenter of any style of music, is knowing the technique. If you're warming up, I was going to say one of the best things, something that really made me more focused on technique, is last summer. I was having an issue where my voice was getting hoarse, and I'm that person. I never get hoarse. It's something that does not happen. And I found out that I had nodules. And as a singer, that is like it's almost like a death wish to your performing voice, because I had these nodules on my vocal cords, and I had to stop singing. Last summer, I shut down about 4 or 5 major shows that I had planned, that were planned for the summer. Had to cancel stuff, and I had to go on vocal rest. While I was on that, going through that experience, I was terrified. Was not sure if my voice was going to come back, and I went back to some techniques that really work, and I know they work. So, for example, if you are warming up your voice in the morning, one of the best things you can do is, I wish I had brought my cup and a straw with me, but not going to show the advertising of the person, but of the company. But if you could use a cup and a straw, this is a miracle for your voice. If you put a straw inside a cup and just kind of do that, blowing bubbles through the straw, that actually strengthens your vocal cords. So as a singer, if you are a singer in the room, you want to practice that. Just maybe 2 minutes of just blowing bubbles, like a kid blows bubbles, and it would kind of irk our parents as growing up. That is one of the best techniques for warming your voice up and getting those vocal folds to move a lot easier. So that was a technique that I practiced religiously and still practice, even in the morning. So simple technique: get a cup, fill it up with get some water, and just begin to blow bubbles. Practice an activity. Just doing that activity will begin to let those vocal folds, because they're muscles. We say vocal cords. It's really just a very thin tissue that just kind of moves back and forth like this. And so that will strengthen your voice. That's one of the techniques I've done before I sing. So whatever genre of music, that's going to be one. Another one would be called motorboats. Motorboats are, if I'm doing a scale, it's so funny, the things that we find that seem childish are actually some of the best techniques for your voice. That's going to warm that voice up. When I'm working with my choir in the morning, we have 3 services on Sunday, or we did prior to COVID. And the first service at 7:15 in the morning. Choir members arriving at 6:30. Your voice is not ready to sing these high-pitched, strong gospel songs at 7:15 and have to do it 3 times. Most time you hear the artists, they're doing it one time and that's it. We're doing the same exact thing 3 times in a day, vocally ready. So One of the best techniques. Take those 5 minutes to warm up doing techniques like that. We grew up thinking la 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 la. That is nice, but what is your intention in the warm up? So if you want to warm up for getting your voice activated, if you're trying to increase those vowel sounds, Louie, 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 Lou. Especially for a male, if you're singing falsetto, for example, with some of the Luther stuff, I am using more of a falsetto, a little bit for some of that because Luther was not a like a vibrato singer. I can put my vibrato voice on singing good gospel song, but if I need to switch my technique. Yes, yeah, exactly. I have to switch it up. So I want to give it that feel. I have to make it finesse that sound. So if you're finessing that sound, nothing is that breathing technique. Inhaling slowly, and it sounds silly. I was a person who would laugh at my prima donna friends for who were going through all these techniques. Now that after post having my nodules, I take it seriously. I'm like wrap that throat up. Another thing is if you're trying when you're singing, you've got these passages here. So these we call those sinus cavities. Those sinus cavities are if I was to pull the skin off, there are holes here, there are holes here. All right, there's some up and around here. You want that space to resonate. So if it's I'm trying to get that space, that hollow sound. How can I really get that? For example, I'll go back to one of the Luther songs. Uh, Got to tell you how you thrill me. If I'm trying to get that, got to, and not to get to a gospel, got to tell. That's out of control, and the voice is lost its finesse. So if I want to switch it up, I'm going to raise my eyebrows. It sounds so simple. Raising those eyebrows is allowing that space to come through. Got to tell you how you thrill me. I'm practicing the breath. I'm happy as I can be. You have come and it's changed my whole world. Now, if I want to push that, you funny, y'all. But if I want to push it out,
Wow.
I'm giving it a lighter touch to it. If I want to give it a heaviness, got to tell you how you thrill me. I'm happy as I can be. But when I'm doing that, I'm also realizing by pushing my voice, I may be allowing too much sound to come out. It doesn't give the finesse that I want. So I'm going to mix a little bit of that chest voice and that head voice. Got to notice I breathe. I was breathing before I did it. Attack anything with a breath. All right. And that's really breathing through the nose. Got to, of course, using the diaphragm. We talked about that diaphragm. I'm sure you guys have heard about that diaphragm. It is so important because your entire body is the instrument. A lot of times we think we focus here. The entire body, your posture, the way you stand, if you're leaning forward. For example, as playing the piano as well, I would watch my piano professors, and they would play classical music, and they would kind of move as they were playing the music. I'm like, why are you doing all this? Well, a part of that was it's actually getting your body in sync with the music. You're kind of moving with the motion of the music. The same thing with singing. Your body is the instrument. Now, I love a flat foot singer. I mean, that's amazing. People who can do that. But sometimes they say you kind of have to get ugly with it. Yeah, you kind of have to do a little bit of movement, but more not necessarily just your body movement, your jaws and face like that. But it's that technique that using that whole body, breathing from within and letting it all out to push that sound in. If it's a higher tone and a higher register, not to close those vocal folds, because especially if you talk like I talk on my voice box. That was something that I learned from a speech pathologist as I was restoring my voice last year. And she says, you talk right on your vocal box. I had to learn, like I'm talking now, at a much lighter tone. Now, it sounds like it's something weird as I'm talking, but it's saving my vocal cords, all right? Versus if I'm talking, like, because, Clarissa, you know me, I can, if it's a good conversation, I'm loud and I didn't realize the damage it was causing long term. My daughter is a Roblox fan, and kids who play Roblox, I don't know if they're their parents in the room, they're normally yelling. And I just had a conversation with my daughter. I was like, you take care of your voice because you're pushing your vocal cords by yelling while you're playing the game. She's excited. I'm trying to you got to change it up. So anyway, those are some techniques. For runs, try your runs, your trills. There's so much stuff out there on YouTube. There's so many vocal coaches I even kind of like will glean from and take some ideas. I don't want to promote any particular person. I won't say, you can ask me offline, but I don't want to promote anybody on a recording session, but any one particular person. But there are a lot of techniques that are available. Use them. As a musician, you cannot just jump out there cold and just start singing. I've been singing in my 40s. I the fact that I can do for some things, but I've learned to say taking that time to warm up your voice. You don't know a single performer, a single football player, a sports player who does not warm up because of what's going to happen. Those muscles are going to tighten up. And then when you can't get the voice or the register that you want, it's because you haven't warmed those vocal folds. Here's another technique that you can use also, not just for singing, but getting those vocal folds is this. If you're in the house, run some steam water over the sink. And as the water's steaming, get a towel, put it over your face, and inhale that steam. Steam is your best friend. You need some steam in your life. Get that steam to get those vocal cords nice and ready. And if you can't get, if you don't have time today to kind of rush out the house, you got things to do. If you choose tea over soda, over juice, over just get you some a nice cup of tea, even if it's just hot water. Let you want that to kind of that steam to come through. It's going to help that help with that, especially when it's allergy season. I live here in Maryland, and Maryland has incredible, I mean, just terrible allergy. I mean, it's just, I mean, the fall time you got the hay rags and all these other ragweeds things floating around. So you have to take care of this. One last technique on the vocal stuff is getting a neti pot. What is a neti pot? It is just simply it's an ancient tool, basically where you use it's I think it's iodized salt. I want to say that's like a salt crystal package that you put, and you run it from one part of your nose to the other. It is not the prettiest thing to do, but I guarantee you, if you can clean some of that debris out, as a singer, you will go far. You will go far. Anyway, I think that's all I can think on techniques. I kind of went into vocal care, but the vocal care really ties in to those techniques. Because you can do the warm ups, but if you ever really practice, you can do the singing, but if you haven't practiced those ways to kind of keep those muscles lasting for a long time. I tell people I want to be Tony Bennett. Tony Bennett is well into his 80s, 90s, and still has a voice as he did 50 years ago.
You know what?
So that's the type of voice I want.
You've given a lot of good tips, not just one or two, but you've given some great tips and some techniques that will really sustain and give a good just some good foundational stuff, even for maybe people that have already entertaining and performing and just didn't know some of those things. So thank you for sharing. And that's kind of what Inspire is all about, an opportunity to get some information and from people that are willing to share, and pass that on to some younger people that are coming up and following in our footsteps. So we're going to move on to some Q&A and some questions. So I got a few questions for you. I know you've been a musician for a long time, but there was a point maybe where you kind of switched into the entertainment. So I guess this first question is more so, how would you describe that first time you were on stage, quote unquote, in an entertainment role?
Oh my goodness, scary, very scary. My comfort crowd was church.
Right,
And in church, everybody says amen and sing, baby, and you doing all right. Let the Lord use you. You know, you grow up in that environment, and
right.
the church is a great space because no matter what you sound like, they're gonna say you sound good anyway. Um, but the fear was for me when I first actually tried it going into acting. Luther was the first, and I've actually been in two other plays and directed my first play last Christmas. I did a Christmas production, but what I was able to learn was um, a crowd that's not maybe a church crowd, they are not as forgiving, and so I had to learn how to um, study the music, study it well, give the inflections. it was very fearful for me. I had a lot of fears jumping into it, but I would probably say one of the best things is jumping out there and just going for it. I mean, like if things fall apart, at least you know. I actually started off before I did the play was I would go to karaoke spots around Baltimore, and I would try out these Luther songs. And I'd put my name on the list, and I would read the response from the crowd. I would kind of engage the crowd, and so I learned in a karaoke setting how to engage the group. I would literally morph into the character. Um, right there in the middle of whatever restaurant, Chili's or whatever restaurant was Fridays, whatever the restaurant were. I would morph into the person, and I would get a lot of feedback because people were like, "Oh, that was good," or like one time I think I did what song was it? I fumbled on "Never Too Much." I kind of it's a lot of words in that song, and so I was like, I lost it, and they were okay, but they were like, okay, now but they were like, you can't miss the second line. Woke up today, looked at your picture, get me started. I'm like, okay, I've learned, like because they're not as that crowd's not as forgiving because those words mean something to them, and that's the existential part of singing is that you're trying certain songs connect people to certain memories. So for A House Is Not a Home, a lady told me when I did the play, she said, this is my first time grieving over the loss of my husband. She had lost her husband, and she says, she cried in the play on The House Not a Home, and she wasn't crying because she was lonely. She says, I cried because I had not grieved the loss of my husband. And she says, this brought closure to me. What I learned in that experience is the existential, that means going beyond just what people see is the feelings and the emotions that are attached to whatever we're performing. That's where we want to kind of get to when we're singing. So I learned as an entertainer is to tap into that. And maybe it's something I learned in church. Grandma would say, sing till they cry. That's I grew up. That's what I was told. Sing it till they cry. And the idea was you sing to people's soul, and it's the same idea. Whether what any style of music, all right, it's singing to their soul. So that's where you want to build people up to as an entertainer. In the entertainment field, as being diverse, I'm not a dancer, but guess what? I took some dancing lessons, and I have learned how to do some things. I mean, I like dancing, but learned how to choreograph moving steps and singing, and that's something that was out of my comfort zone. I was totally out. When I did Bad Boy on stage, we had a full on choreography that I had to memorize. Had to learn speaking parts that were in between the songs and learning the song itself because I knew the song. I knew at the song. I didn't really know all the words. So going into the entertainment field, be diverse, and I've kind of said this enough times. Go in knowing that you might make mistakes. Never go in thinking that you know everything because you're going to learn something from somebody. I would listen to the old school, the OGs. I listen to these older guys, and they would tell you, man, if you gonna sing this song from Luther, you got to do this with it. They may not be the best singers, but they gave advice because for them it was a certain place. If it's Chris Brown, I love to listen to Chris Brown and some of these younger singers. They've got some runs. I think Jasmine Sullivan is just like bananas. Her voice is like mad crazy. But I've learned to like, what is she doing with her voice? I may not be able to match it, but at least I could try some things with that. So, for as the entertainment field, be open. It can be cutthroat. I'm not going to lie to you. Like I said, I've grown working in churches, and so I wasn't used to critique. The first time I did the show, I had to accept critique with a smile, and some of it was ill will, and some of it was great. But I had to there's a saying my grandmother said. Grandmother says, eat the meat but spit out the bones. And simply what that means is you take the good of what you heard, everything else let it fall by the wayside. So if you are an aspiring singer, actor, musician, whatever it is, um, jump out there. Be open to critique. Doesn't mean you have to internalize it, but you have to be open to hear what are people saying that you can use to improve on.
Oh man, you have given some great tips. I mean, you've covered a lot, and I am going to definitely make sure that anybody that's listening, if you're listening live, if you want to put something in the chat, um, please feel free to do so. Also, if it's something that you hear and you may have more questions, you can always reach out to Tamba Giles, or you can reach out to me at Classic Music Studios, because our goal and our vision, once again, is to bring our young people up front, close center to artists, to experiences, so that you can get some answers and maybe even have some clarity and some things that you want to do. Now, Tamba has given us a lot of good information today. um I'm gonna go, because we don't have any other questions, I'm gonna go ahead and ask another question. You kind of talked about a little bit of this. We want to talk about maybe somebody can be prepared, like you've kind of alluded to, things to be aware of. Even when you said some things that were ill will, but maybe talk about some of the bumps in the road that you've incurred. I know that environment is different in a church setting, but you have done both. You have the experience in ministry, and that's kind of probably a whole nother segment on its own.
Yeah, that's a hour, 2 hour conversation.
That can be a whole nother segment, which we might talk about doing a part two, a couple months down the road, just how ministry and how finding opportunities and working through those type of things. But then on the other hand, you have entertainment and really the music career. Maybe some experiences you've had that can maybe enlighten someone, they can kind of be aware of, or either share an experience that, hey, this is something I, ran into, and maybe hearing my story will help you not have some of the same bumps in the roads.
Okay, wow, that there's a lot I could say in that. So one thing I'll say is don't limit yourself. Something I found is I put a lot of my passion into um, working in ministry. And something I found out was the gifting that God had given me was beyond the four walls that I was serving. That does not mean that I couldn't use any of it, but I think I was putting all of my passion into one area. And the frustration that I was feeling was more of, I feel, and I'm not sure people's faith walk are in the room, but I felt that God was saying, I've got more for you to do. I've got a different audience of people that I want you to reach, but you're going to reach them in a different way. And so what I found out was by I go on stage and do these Luther tributes. I realized that some of these same people that were in church, they just need that was an outlet that they needed. It was like, hey, listen, I came to have a good time. I needed this, and I could still this is my churchy hat now. I could still minister to them in a different caveat, and I'm still bringing. I had people who were coming to church, coming to our church because they had seen me do something, do a whole full Luther set, and they were like, "Girl, you ought to see him on Sundays. He'll be singing. He sing like that on Sundays." And I'm falling out. I'm like, really? So I mean, there were people who were driving from DC, 45 minutes from Baltimore, coming back to church the next Sunday. Like, I'm coming back. You gonna be there Sunday? I'm like, yeah, I'll be there. And like, well, you gonna be singing like that? I said, well, okay, I'm not gonna be shimmying like I was on the stage. Yeah, And so with that, I learned some things. When you mentioned about the make sure I'm answering all the questions correctly. Someone's trying to call me in the middle of a performance. Let me try to turn that off. I don't know who's trying to call me. Isn't that a shame?
You got people trying to get on your books.
Yeah, I'm in the middle of a middle of a show, the middle of a taping. Anyway, what I was going to say was, it was something I was going to say too. If you're going to be an entertainer, you have to find something that about you that is unique, that you bring to the table. That is going to be so crucial. You have to figure out what that is for yourself. What is it that makes you unique? One of the things is there are people who do Luther Vandross tributes, but one of the things I could bring to the table was I play the piano. So how crazy is that? Is one time I had a live band and they just could not no, let me make sure I say this right. The way they were what they were playing on If Only for One Night wasn't doing it for me. So I left the stage and I hopped on the piano And
Hmm.
I played If Only for One Night on the piano.
Wow.
When I tell you the crowd, they were like, because the people that group, they didn't know me for playing. They just figured this guy out there singing. And I started playing and crooning on the keyboard, and that was my unique thing.
Uh-huh.
And then a marketing person came and told me, they said, you need to market that. You're not just performing the tributes to Luther Vandross, but you're playing his music as well. And so I had to learn to kind of add that into a show if I need to. Let me add in If Only for One Night, just as a little piece on the end. Make whatever is unique for you. Making sure you find that thread. If
That's
you don't read music, I'm gonna tell you this: make that your thing that defines you. Some of the experience I had is not. I'm not like, although I graduated a music degree, that was not my intention. And Clarissa, that from college, I was my intention was to go to law school, and I thought I was going to become an entertainment lawyer and study the legalities that would help artists. I had no desire to be performing. I mean, I did some of the stuff, but that wasn't really my goal. Because I didn't think musicians. I didn't want to be the starving artist. I
right.
never wanted to be that starving artist, and so that segues into a business.
Right.
What I've been able to do as a side business has been beneficial for me in my house. And I had to supplement in different ways. So I mean, I've been doing these Luther things, Luther Zoom. It was an idea. I said, let me try it. Let me just. Are people really going to book somebody to sing on a Zoom camera? They are. There's an audience for everybody. There is an audience for whatever you do. There's an audience that's going to like what you do, and you cater to that audience. I wrote a song over the summer called "We Can Make It," and it was just I collaborated with a friend. It was a gospel. It was a 3.5 minute gospel song, and I had a negative person say, "Well, the song is only three and a half minutes." And I said, "Well, do you know the song September by Earth, Wind and Fire is only 3 minutes and about 45, 3 minutes and maybe 30 seconds?" I said it's a hit. It's been a hit since the 70s. For 40 years, the song is still a hit. It is 3.5 minutes. I don't hear about the song used to be longer.
Yeah.
And
That's
I had to learn to say, what are you talking about?
Yeah, you tapped on, you kind of just kind of run over that, but that the songwriting aspect of what you do, um we can kind of get a little bit of that in our conversation today.
Songwriting, something that I never thought I'd do. I was a radio announcer in college. Um, I've always liked gospel music. I've always like, I'll take it back. I like any song that tells a story, which is why like I can listen to Two Black Cadillacs, country western songs. I love the fact that the person falls in love and there's an issue and then they end up killing both people. It's a great storyline. It's like what? I was like, that's drama, but it's a great story. So if you're a songwriter, put some songs together. Who cares if it makes it to the Stellars or makes it to the Grammys? Just release it. It's taken me 20 years to release a single. I've done songs with other people's projects. I've worked with other people. I was like, what took me so long? I was like, hey, well, I could have did this a long time ago. But
Mhm.
I'm learning now it's fine. And it also becomes another form of income. So I've got We Can Make It out. Now, I'm not going to say that I'm going to become rich off of the song, but I realize that that's a stream of income that I don't have to work for. I'm not working for that song.
Right.
It's all streamed. People are buying the music and downloading it, and I don't care if it's 10 cent. It's 10 cent more than I had last week. And if I get a 10 cent royalty check, that's fine because it's going to last through eternity.
You're
If
you're
it
throwing out, you're throwing out some terms, the royalty check, the streaming. You're throwing out terms, and we're speaking with an idea and aspect of educating people and young people as our targeted audience. So give us a little bit about that.
Okay, so let me tell you this. Or so if you're interested in putting out a song, it's probably easier to do songs now than it ever has been before in life. I use a company called, oh my goodness, as I'm talking, it just escaped my mind. It's going to come to me, Clarissa. If not, I'll post it. But I have all of my. It's a company that does all your streaming. I probably spend what $19 maybe a month or something like that. But they stream it out to Apple, Google Play. It's going to TuneCore. There we go. Had to think about Tune Tune Core. TuneCore. I put my song through TuneCore. It is now across the world. Anybody in the world can find that 3.5 minute song. And of course, the most expensive part of this is the release is always the exciting part. I released a song. The next thing you're gonna have to do is this, and I know the time is far spent, but the next thing you want to do is you want to spend your money on advertising. So what I did with the single "We Can Make It" is I actually use Instagram, Facebook. They actually have incentives where you can. I think I may have spent $100, and it was able to within $100 I could get to maybe 60,000 people. Well, I posted my little song and a little snippet, and I used. I'm gonna throw something else out there. It's called Canvas. Canvas. Let's okay. You don't have a media person? Get on Canvas. You make up your own flyer. I'm like the Tyler Perry of my own house. Now I figure out things on my own. Tyler Perry inspired me because I was like, if this man can open up he's a billionaire, but he started off doing these plays. Y'all know his story. So I said, okay, I'm going to figure out how to make up my own flyer. It may not be perfect. I had a photographer who said, really, like graphic artist, that's what you did. I'm like, that's what I did. And they said, well, you could have paid me. I'm like, I couldn't afford you, so I did it on my own. And trust me, I still had. I think I had over 16,000 people who had viewed the stuff. So I used Canvas for my graphic. I used TuneCore to distribute my music. Um, I'm trying to think of what else for your songwriting. Of course, go to the copyright office. So you've got ASCAP, BMI. So if you've got a song, first thing you're going to do is go through the copyright office, the U.S. Copyright Office. It's online, so you have a copy of the song, sing it into a mic, me, put the words down, shoot it off. It's done. It's yours forever. The follow up with that is, of course, getting it through ASCAP. One of my biggest mistakes that I made is when I wrote "You Are the Great I Am." I was 21, and it was my first song, and I didn't know a lot about the industry. Um, I was mortified when I found out that a popular church had recorded the song, and I found out the day that they were releasing it. I said, y'all couldn't tell me ahead of time. Now, mind you, that project was going to be a global project. The first song did make it, but there were some other issues because myself and other writers were like, wait,
Right.
like I don't care, like some type of person, if I'm getting $1 from it, it's my dollar.
Right.
Like, give me my dollar. It's like so. But the mistake I made was that song had been recorded 5 or 6 times, and I never knew about it. How did I find out about the 6 recordings of it? I ended up going on Google and I typed my name in, and then I saw the song, and I was like, I didn't even heard. Like, who is this? Who recorded this? I don't know who these people are. That happened so many times. I never got $1, not even an acknowledgement for it. That was so. It was hurtful. It made me angry because I felt like what God had given me had been used. And I didn't know where to go with it. So with that is do your legal follow ups. There's another company, so this is how you can get your money back if that's the case, or whatever you're owed. You got the Harry Fox Agency. Harry Fox Agency will track down any recordings of your music, as long as you've got like your copyrighted. I think there's an ISBN number that you do, but you can find there's another one called royalty something. I can't think of the name of it off the top of my head, but I was talking with actually a musician that is in the Dallas area who formerly lived there, but he lives in North Carolina or Georgia somewhere. He mentioned to me how he was able to recoup like $20,000 in royalties that for a song that because he knew where the money was. It's like you send the stuff off and it's like somewhere it's floating somewhere, but you have to claim it. So if you're a songwriter, cover your music. That doesn't mean you cover it this way, like you hoard it in. But I'm saying that you just make sure you do all the business aspects. Something I learned much later on in life is if it's your $1 or 15 cent, let it be your 15 cent. All right. It doesn't have to be, getting millions of dollars later down the line. That's not everybody's story. But at least it's something that can be something that you can have that your children can have. So that means long after I'm gone, You Are the Great I Am, or My Strength is in You, or other songs I've written, We Can Make It, that my daughter will now have those rights, to those songs, So it's money that she can receive. Someday, somewhere down the line, she may need, $100, and they say, hey, did you know that your father had has $100 in royalties that have been willed over to you. So, so definitely do the business. Again, if you don't read music, I would say take a lesson, go online, don't be afraid of it. That's going to make you diverse as an artist. Doesn't mean you have to be reading like everything note for note, but have that ability to know how to read a chord sheet. I have a guitar here. I taught myself the guitar over the summer. I had never played the guitar a day in my life, but I knew I could follow those little patterns. And so I told somebody, I'm ready to do a guitar concert. That's another performance that I could have access to do. So stay marketable. That's my other last one. Stay marketable. Whatever you're doing, stay marketable. So what does that mean? It means find something that's unique about what you do that can be a source of income if you want it to be financial, or a source that people can say, I don't know anyone who's doing that. Right now, I don't know anybody who's doing Luther Vandross tributes on Zoom. So it kind of makes me an anomaly. So I'm letting it work for me. I'm like, I'm still getting bookings, and it's going from national national sororities who had their stuff closed down and said, "Well, we need some entertainment." Hey, sure, I'm right here. I may not charge you as much as these other big artists, but you're gonna get a good show, and I'm going to perform and put on a blue jacket and a bow tie.
All right. All right. All right. So, Tamba, you have given us a lot of information. I am so grateful, and hopefully, someone that will hear what you've offered will be blessed by it. Um, so, this kind of goes back to while we're here, we're going to go ahead and close out. Didn't get to go through all the questions, but that's fine because you covered a lot of good information. So, we
And we
thank
can always do part two.
Yes, we want to work on part two. Sounds great. Sounds great. So if you actually saw something today, heard something today, and you would like to donate, donations are accepted. Cash App us at Inspire Kids or PayPal us at Classy Music Studios. But nothing more than that is we want to know and let you know that we thank you for coming. Thank you for checking us out today. And also remember, inspire. We're here to inspire you to explore the world of music. Have a good day.